What is Chainsaw Man? An action-filled shonen with insane over-the-top battles and characters that consistently elevate its scope with each drama-filled moment, each earth-shattering battle. What is Chainsaw Man? A psychological horror that deconstructs its characters and pushes them to their utmost limits by tormenting them by presenting the most impossible situations and questions that they're forced to deal with and answer. What is Chainsaw Man? A character drama filled with characters that are ever growing, ever changing with every chapter. Characters that perfectly reflect the real world, parading around in the skin of a battle shonen. What is Chainsaw Man? A pretentious modern manga with a middling story and a terrible main character that only ever fixates on sex and his own personal gratification with forgettable characters and boring fights. What is Chainsaw Man? A manga created by the talented Tatsuki Fujimoto, a man with a mind demented and so far removed from anything in the magazine his series is published in. What is Chainsaw Man? An acid trip of a battle manga, a horror manga with astonishing artwork, a character study filled with real people disguised as fictional characters, a popular manga by a passionate storyteller, a passionate artist, a boring manga that will never reach the heights of its contemporaries. What is Chainsaw Man? A masterpiece. I love Chainsaw Man. If it wasn't already apparent by the many videos analyzing the story, its characters and its themes, predicting what's next, giving my opinion on its anime adaptation, comparing it to other fictional stories, reading its author's every available work and deconstructing them as well. I know it's been a long time since my last Chainsaw Man video, and it may be another great lapse in time from this one to the next. I don't know what I plan to accomplish with this video. I barely have any sort of structure of what I want to talk about. I just want to talk about Chainsaw Man and everything surrounding it. Think of this as a love letter to a series that isn't even done yet. So maybe I'm too early on a video like this, but I don't really care. I want to talk about Chainsaw Man again. I want to talk about how it makes me feel, the controversy surrounding it, and just have a very raw and real discussion. Before we continue, if you're new here, subscribe. I'd like to hit 20k before the end of the year, and I can't make that possible without all of you. And if you do want to support this channel a step further, want to see more videos like this on a consistent basis, or somewhat consistent, feel free to subscribe to the Patreon so I can try to do this a little bit more often. This video will contain spoilers for Chainsaw Man, so with that in mind, let's get into today's topic. When I first read Chainsaw Man, I didn't know what to expect. Each chapter slowly building, setting up the world, the characters, and the twists. My first video in the series was me professing my love for a series I had freshly completed, and maybe I'll bring that series back in the future if you all want to see that. But since that very first video, I've decided to reread Chainsaw Man a couple times, watching how the series subtly foreshadows and sets up plots in the background for some of the best payoffs I've seen in Jump since Bleach. My second video on the series I dedicated to Aki Hayakawa, who at the time didn't have any character analysis made on him, and I felt like it was my job to talk and analyze this character like no one had before. One of Chainsaw Man's best characters that changes throughout the entire story, a character that truly captivated me on a deep level, reminding me of characters like Zuko and how well his arc was structured and integrated into the overall story of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Truly a tragic character in every sense of the word, marred by loss that puts up a wall to hide his vulnerabilities, and when he finally breaks down that wall, he's exploited. Then I decided it was time to take on my biggest undertaking with my video discussing the complicated relationship between Power and Denji, a relationship that's so tainted with misconception and controversy, all because of one word by one character. I'll never understand why this is so controversial. Chainsaw Man consistently asks its readers to question established ideas on so many topics, and love and relationships are no different. Chainsaw Man brings something new to its audiences, something that isn't handled with the same nuance in other series. Most battle shonen romance feels tacked on and underbaked, and the shonen that do focus primarily on romance are very on the nose with its depiction of relationship dynamics and love. But Chainsaw Man is real, almost uncomfortably, and it stems from Fujimoto's deep history of writing romance and relationship-driven stories of all different flavors. When I spoke about Nayuta and Makima and the irony of that relationship in comparison to Denji and Power and the many nuances that come within both, at the time Nayuta was barely a character, but with everything that happened within Chainsaw Man's second part, most of what I said still rings true. I've made videos breaking down, to me, Chainsaw Man's best arc and the best moment that had been built up as early as its first arc. The legendary confrontation with the Gun Devil, a moment that is sure to strike PTSD-esque fear into any Chainsaw Man fan. Only followed up by the next big arc in the series where Denji is forced to confront Makima after having everything taken from him. I could sit here and go through the long history of Chainsaw Man videos on this channel, but to keep a long story short, I've studied Chainsaw Man front and back, using Tatsuki Fujimoto's other works as a baseline mixed in with my own life experiences. This doesn't make my opinion more substantial than anyone else's though, but it shows that I have a deep love and passion for the story that has not changed and will most likely never change. I've talked about the characters, the themes, the manga, the anime, and once Chainsaw Man fully wraps up, I can't wait to look back at the series in its entirety and potentially discover more hidden seeds that connect directly back to its definitive finale. And I will be seeing the Chainsaw Man movie and reading whatever Fujimoto cooks up next. You best believe. Chainsaw Man has been the one constant in my life for the past few years. It's the only manga I actively keep up with bi-weekly. It's a series that, again, I've covered extensively, and if I'm being honest, it has generated the most financial profit on my channel. Not saying that money is the reason why I make those videos, but just to paint a picture of how Chainsaw Man has changed parts of my life. I hate a portion of this fan base. The people who misconstrued Fujimoto's writing and aren't willing to listen to anything else, the people who consistently complain about part 2 and accusing it of falling off, comparing it to the first half and unfinished section of a story to a finished one. I was there through it all. The complaints about Asa, yearning for Denji's grand reintroduction to the story just to be criticized when Denji does return, and accusing him of not growing or progressing at all, while Fujimoto slowly peppers in Denji's changes throughout the series, showing his growth as a character, his selfishness, his human attributes, his flaws, through exposition and visual storytelling. I love the slow build-up of part 2, each chapter setting up things at the back end as it takes an opposite approach to Chainsaw Man's initial breakneck pace storytelling, and I think it's purposeful. Makima has been eliminated from the story, and with her gone, Denji is not forced into life-altering drama early on, or consistently. He gets to enjoy peace, which is something foreign to him and us, as control is slowly lost as the world breaks down around its characters. The absence of Makima and the pure terror of Chainsaw Man needed to take its time to sink into the world as the 4 horsemen one by one made their appearances, the calm before the inevitable storm. What is Chainsaw Man? If you were to ask me that question, I'd respond with an amazing work of art that has touched me on so many levels, by an author that has made me express so many emotions in the few years I've become acquainted with his body of work. A story that transcends most things that I've read and able to stand next to juggernauts like Attack on Titan, Bleach, or One Piece. A series that treats all its characters like real people with real emotions and real flaws, trying to navigate a world that's anything but ordinary. A story of tragedy, family, love, death. A story that asks its readers to read between the lines a lot of the time and to just listen to the song Others. It's a story about hardship, loss, and the strength to keep going after each loss, keep starting over after each reset. Now, I pass that question on to you. What is Chainsaw Man?